Hey everybody, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com along with good old JM, Jeff Meacham. How you doing today, Mr. Meacham?
I'm showing the website. That's how I'm doing. I'm doing wonderful.
Yes, I instructed him
the
to
old
wear
shirt,
that shirt.
Hold the old shirt, you know. I figured we'd bring out the old stuff today.
Jeff being a good corporate
I'm
video
corporate
blogger.
conscious in this new life of mine.
Yes.
So now that I'm back in the fold, it's time to be more corporate aware.
Yes.
Damn it.
Anyways, we are here today to discuss the top WWE RAW matches to watch before you die.
And this is just from the history of Monday Night Raw from '93 until
Present day.
Present day. Okay.
These are matches that if you've not seen them yet, you definitely should go out of your way to watch them, either on the WWE Network for just $9.99 or go on YouTube or Daily Motion or wherever you can get the matches.
Well, unfortunately, it depends what era you're talking about. Now they've recently, within the last couple months, uploaded the Attitude Era Raws the first year, so you can watch those Raws. But you know, a lot of them are still unavailable for whatever reason, so you have to seek them out. Like Aaron said, YouTube or Daily Motion or however you want to find them. But don't do it illegally, because that's not nice. Dang it. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, first match I wanted to talk about is from 1994. Bret Hart as the WWE Champion, or should I say WWF back in the day.
Yes.
Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid on Monday Night Raw. To me, this was probably the best early Raw match, and it was a match where even in defeat, the 1-2-3 Kid came off more like a superstar because he was able to go toe-to-toe with the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
This was, by and large, in my opinion, Sean Waltman's best match.
Definitely at the top of the list.
And you know, again, you know, toward the end there, Sean Waltman didn't have, you know, the best matches because his neck was messed up and he was injured and things like that. But in the beginning, he was 1-2-3 Kid. Even in the early days of 6, he always had quality matches with Jericho or with Bret Hart, as you mentioned on Raw. He had decent matches with Scott Hall. You know, he was a great worker, and this match here was the epitome of how good he could really be. He stood in the ring, across the ring, with the very best in the company, the standard bearer of the company for the better part of 3 years, Bret Hart, and took him to his limit and vice versa.
And this is when both of them were really at their physical peaks.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, Sean will always be the skinny little guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, he looked tremendous flying around the ring and doing different things. And the technical aspect of this match was very much like the Bret Owen matches, very much like the Bret Shawn Michaels early matches. Both technically sound as a pound, and just both of them just tore it up. And it wasn't one of those where they had a technical match and it was marred by controversy and marred by interference, whatever. They just had a great match. It ended peacefully, it ended clean, and it was very rare for a title match to end that way during Bret's reign anyway.
So yeah, that was a tremendous match. My favorite Raw match of the early days. Moving on here to March 3rd, 1997. This was a taped edition of Monday Night Raw from Germany. It was the very first European title match to determine the very first champion. There was actually a tournament, and the final match of the tournament was Owen Hart versus the British Bulldog. To me, this is one of the best Raw matches of all time from any era. One of Owen Hart's best matches, arguably his best match, right up there with the Bret Hart matches from '94. And I like the storyline too. You had the whole jealousy aspect of it. Owen Hart jealous of the British Bulldog, and it led up to this match. And I just thought it was brilliant. I thought from an athletic standpoint, it was terrific, and the storytelling was really amazing.
Yeah, you couldn't add, if you go through, as much as Martha Hart doesn't like us talking about Owen's WWF career, if you go back and watch the career of Owen Hart, you have to watch this match. If you go back and watch the career of Davey Boy Smith, you have to watch this match. Both these guys were not necessarily at their peak, because I say Bulldog was at his peak in '92 when he faced Bret for the title. Same with Owen when he faced Bret at WrestleMania. But both of them were still on mark. Both these guys were at their arguably best. Fighting over championship had never been defended before. A brand new title, the first new WWF championship in, I want to say, 18 years.
Yeah, it was a very long time.
Because you got to figure, there was the Intercontinental title in 79. I think after that was the European title in 97. So 18
right.
years between new championships. It was a big deal. It was in Europe, which is, it should be. And just great in-ring work for both of them, and the storyline, as you mentioned, was great. The jealousy between Owen and the Bulldog, and what led to them reforming the Hart Foundation with Brett later that in March. Just great storytelling. 97 is very underrated in the WWF years.
Absolutely. And the thing is that Raw did not do a very good rating at all.
Didn't.
And I think a lot of people forgot about that match because WCW was red hot at the time. But WWE really got their stuff together for that match.
They did. You know, they you know, you hear about this on the DVDs a lot and on the documentaries a lot of how, you know, people would sit there at Titan Town, people would sit there at Raw and go, we have better product, but God, they're just killing us and their product sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
How are they killing us in the ratings? Because WCW was not that good. They just had the hotter hand, the NWO.
Yeah, I mean, WCW had some quality wrestling matches, but this was as good as anything in WCW. This was as good as Malenko and Benoit and Rey Mysterio and the Cruiserweights, all those guys. I mean, this was just as good as anything that WCW had to offer.
Yes, it was.
All right, moving on here to the Attitude Era from the year 2000, February 7th. In my opinion, the greatest 10-man tag team match in the history of the wrestling business, from any show, any promotion, anywhere. You had DX and the Radicals together against The Rock, Cactus Jack, and Too Cool. And the thing about this match is, not only was it great from a technical standpoint, but one of the hottest crowds for a Raw main event that I could ever recall. I mean, they were into it. I mean, the place was just going nuts from start to finish. They were into everything. Everybody got over in that match. Too Cool was over. The Radicals were over his heels. It was just magic. That match was just pure magic.
Now, it was Radicals minus Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, because he was hurt.
Yes. And DX minus Billy Gunn, who'd been excommunicated after No Way Out lost to the Dudleys. Against, it was Cactus, The Rock,
and Too Cool.
So it was Brian, Scott, and Rikishi?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, wait, Rikishi in there? Yeah. So yeah, you had two teams who, on their own, in their own storylines, were over as hell. And then you had the combination of them all in the same ring at the same time. It's no wonder the WWF started kicking butt in the ratings more and more and more and more as 2000 wore on. Because stuff like this, at the beginning of the year, you had 10 top superstars, 3 of which were just from WCW.
Yeah.
You know, you can't ask for a better Raw product than that. And that's what the Attitude Era was. It was a better product.
Yeah, but I don't know if there was ever a Raw main event that had just the intensity from the crowd, just so much.
The crowd was hot. They were just, from the minute the first guys walked out of the curtain, the fans were like, it was almost like an ECW crowd, it's not as violent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's the example of a good crowd. Just people that come to have a good time and enjoy the show. They're not trying to come up with their smart chants or anything like that. They're just there to have a good time and they're into the characters. But then again, you know, back at that time, WWE was really good at making the characters important and giving people reason to care about the characters.
Yeah, that's my one drawback to NXT now, because they're very much an indie crowd. Yeah. Where they chant one way, then they chant it's like, oh god, I have gorilla flashbacks.
Yeah. And I also wanted to add with the storyline that match, after the match was over, Kane made his return with Paul Bearer and the place just went completely
That's right, he did.
I mean, that's the kind of atmosphere you just don't see on Raw these days.
No.
It felt like, you know, the biggest rock concert of all time.
It was. And back then, every week was the biggest rock concert of all time. You know, Tony Schiavone talked about the greatest night in the history of our business every single week.
Rock concert without The Rock, although The Rock wasn't.
The Rock was in the match, so there you go.
Yes. So moving on, 2 years later, July 1st, 2002, The Undertaker defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Jeff Hardy in a ladder match. This is the match with the famous JR quote, "Go ahead, kid, reach for the belt, make yourself famous." And even though Jeff Hardy lost the match, when it was over, The Undertaker helped him up. He was a heel at the time. The Undertaker helped up Jeff Hardy and raised his hand.
Well, no, Jeff Hardy got up on his own, and The Undertaker knocked him down again. And then he got up again, and he knocked him down again. Then he came back to the ring and just stared at him like, boy, you just ain't got no sense. And he put his arm up and he just kind of shook his head like, Jesus, son. And that was it. And Undertaker walked in and let Jeff Hardy have his moment in the ring. And that was the beginning of The Undertaker, Big Evil, going back to being babyface again. And that was cool. That was a cool moment. Jeff Hardy did not look that good again until he won the title.
Yeah.
Because he kind of petered out after that, and then he left WWE, went to TNA for a while, then he came back to WWE, and then he won the championship and had that decent program with his brother this time, and that was it. I dare say Jeff Hardy was never any higher on Raw than that moment.
Now, how many matches in WWE history can you say the loser came off stronger in defeat than if he had won the match?
Very un-WWE-like. I mean, for the loser to come out being the stronger of the two. You had that match, you had a match that wasn't on SmackDown, or wasn't on Raw, but I'll talk about it really quick, Angle Benoit in 2003 at the Royal Rumble, where Benoit got the ovation at the end of the night. It was stuff like that that made you think, does Vince actually listen to us? Do they actually listen? Wow. But the Jeff Hardy Undertaker match was a turning corner for... I want to say it was for Jeff, but it really wasn't, because that was the highest, again, he ever got until he came back.
Yeah.
He was never at that high point again.
But it certainly showed the potential that Jeff Hardy had.
But Undertaker doing what he did elevated him to a status of, hey, we can respect him again.
Yeah, and the Undertaker has so much credibility that if the Undertaker gives his seal of approval to somebody, it really means something.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it often.
If you can take that big an ass handling by the Undertaker and get him to shake his head, just go, Jesus.
Yeah.
Then you're made for life.
Yeah. All right, so moving on here to April 20th, 2005. This was the Gold Rush tournament that they had on Raw, which actually Wade Needham from ringscoops.com came up with that idea about 3 months before WWE, and then
sounds familiar.
Coincidence that WWE did it, but that's a whole other topic. I'm sure Wade will address it at some point on NoDQ.com. Wade's actually got a new series coming in.
Everybody's coming back.
Yeah, so
it's a homecoming.
But anyways, moving on from that, the match I'm talking about is Shawn Michaels versus Shelton Benjamin. One of Shelton Benjamin's best matches on Raw, and one of Shawn Michaels' best matches on Raw, for that matter. And the thing that everybody remembers about this match so well is the infamous super kick. Shelton Benjamin from halfway across the ring, going for the springboard, whatever, and then it gets turned into a super kick.
That spot was on the Raw opening for how many years after?
Years.
For years after. During the time of the Union Underground opening, it was one of the highlights of the Raw opening was Shelton coming off the top rope and just Michaels just catching him right here, right in the puss, right here,
yeah, and
just knocked him silly. But that whole match, it's funny that they talk about the people now like Naomi and Divas Division. I defy you to find a more pure athlete back then than Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin was everything that a professional wrestler, a sports entertainer should be. He had the look, he had the ability, he had the mic skills, which we didn't think he did at first because he was managed by Paul Heyman and with Charlie. You didn't see that from him. Even when he had his mama around, really didn't get it. It wasn't until he was forced to do it on his own that we could see the true greatness of Shelton Benjamin. And he was great. He was a great Intercontinental Champion. He was a great U.S. Champion briefly. The gold standard. And they called him that for a reason. It's because he had gold hair.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And how can you not say Shawn Michaels is, again...
he was really on a roll at that time.
Shawn Michaels on a roll at that point. And, again, with Shawn Michaels, if Flair's not the best of all time, how is Michaels not 1A?
Exactly.
And he was tremendous, and the two of them in the same ring together on a Monday night, not on a pay-per-view, but on a Monday Night Raw, in a tournament to determine the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. You can't ask for better TV than that.
Yeah, they could have wrestled a million times on Raw, and I don't think people would have gotten sick of it.
I wouldn't have.
So I got one more match here I want to bring up, and that's from 2007. Speak of the devil, Shawn Michaels versus John Cena in England.
Yes.
This match, a lot of people say that this match was much better than the WrestleMania 23 match that they had. And I would agree. I mean, this was, almost an hour long?
Yep. And the right guy won this time.
Yeah.
I got called out on your channel for riding the Cena sack, if you will. We were talking about payback predictions. But it's matches like this is the reason I do it. Because Cena was awesome in this match. Yes, it was Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels could carry a broomstick to an hour draw and still make the broomstick be more over than Shawn Michaels. I understand that. But wrestling, sports entertainment has to be 2 guys or 4 guys, whatever the equation is, of equal standing, both looking as good as they did when they came in.
Yeah.
However, Cena looked better coming out of this match, even in defeat.
Yeah, he did.
And Michaels beat, at the end of the day, he beat the world champion, the WWE champion on Raw, in a big market of London. They both looked good coming out of this match, and Cena was champion until October. He was champion for over a year.
Yeah.
And when you have one of the very best, they can't beat you on WrestleMania, but they can beat you on live TV. That says that Shawn Michaels is still the showstopper, the icon, the guy that can still go. And Cena's still the champion they're going to look to lead the future.
Yeah.
Just a great presentation.
And the thing is, Cena proved his haters wrong. They say he can't wrestle. He went out there and he wrestled, and it takes 2 to tango. Let's face it.
He had an hour-long match with the King of the Iron Man matches.
Yeah, he held his ground.
He did.
So he silenced a lot of his critics, although not really.
Not all of them, unfortunately. I know.
There's still a lot of critical ones, but I think they did shut up for a little bit after that match.
And you know what? Haters are gonna hate, and people are gonna get on my case.
Taylor Swift.
That's right. Don't get me going. I will sing the song, and I'll embarrass everybody that chose to watch this episode, including myself. But no. The haters are going to come out of the woodwork no matter what John Cena does. I almost wore my Cena shirt.
The haters going to hate.
I'll do it. And
I'm just trying to get him to do it.
I know, but I'm not going to. I'm lying. But if you're going to have people like that hate on John Cena, people hate on Shawn Michaels, then what do you people want?
Exactly.
Well, if you don't want quality wrestling from 2 guys you wouldn't expect it, in Cena especially, what do you want?
People want John Cena to be a bad guy, but then if he's a bad guy, they're going to cheer for him.
Exactly.
But that's a whole other topic, the John Cena character. But the fact is,
Cena Michaels was the best match on Raw that year by far.
And the thing with Cena is he's told to go out there and do 5 moves. That's the style that WWE wants him to do. When he can go out there and have a match, he has a match. He can do it if that's what is needed to be done.
I was commenting on the show we did the other day about the fact that people were getting on Cena. I was getting on Cena's case. Bradshaw says it every single week. He finds ways to win.
Yeah.
Cena went into a match with Umaga when Umaga was still around in 2007 at the Royal Rumble that year, as a matter of fact, and literally took the ring apart to beat Umaga.
Yeah.
Who does that? Cena is way better than you guys give him credit for. And I'm sorry if that's going to get me hate mail or get me, he's, whatever with Cena. Fine.
Well, the creative came up with that, not him.
I know.
Wrestling's fake, Jeff.
I know it's fake, but, they don't seem to understand that.
Yeah.
They don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, real quick here, there's one more match I wanted to bring up, actually going back in time about a year because you brought up Ric Flair, and I wanted to talk about Edge versus Ric Flair.
Yes, the TLC
January
match.
2006. That is a side of Ric Flair that I never thought we were going to see up to that
was
point.
One of only 2 ladder matches Ric Flair ever did.
Yeah.
Ever.
And he proved he can go out and do ladder match, too.
At whatever he was, 50-something, almost 60-something years old, he's still going to have a ladder match with the guy, with the champion.
And
it was, and we were watching more intently together at that point because we were still doing the shows together, and just watching that whole program with Edge unfold was awesome. But the match with Flair really was a benchmark to his title reign, brief though it was for 3 weeks. He set the standard. He had the live sex celebration the night after the pay-per-view. He had the match with Flair. He had another segment on Raw next week, and then he was at the Rumble. He was the highest-rated WWE champion in years, and there was a reason for that, because he was great in the ring and could talk a blue streak on the mic, just like Flair. And the fact that they had Flair in Edge's environment made it like, wow, Flair can still go.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. So, are there any other matches that you wanted to bring up that come to mind?
Honestly, the one that I would think that everybody should watch, because of the sheer storytelling presentation, was Mankind versus The Rock on January 4th, 99, taped December 98, when he won the championship the first time. That whole show, from start to finish, actually, was great storytelling.
That was a great Raw.
It was a great Raw, but the whole thing with Mankind getting a title shot because of Triple H, basically pedigreeing Shane McMahon, and then the execution of the match itself, knowing what Mick Foley went through to get through that match, the previous 15 years of his career, or 13 years, whatever it was, it was a great story being told. Yeah, he had Austin interfering in the end to help Mankind beat The Rock, but you know what? Nobody cared about that. Once Austin left the ring, it was all about that 1, 2, 3 with Earl Hebner in the middle of the ring. And it was a feel-good moment, and you should watch that. It's on every Mick Foley DVD there is. Yeah. If you don't have the network, it might be on the network now. I don't know, but you should watch that match.
Yeah, just the reaction from the crowd. I mean, that was one of the biggest pops of all time, I think.
Hokey version of Mankind music notwithstanding.
Yeah. One more match I want to mention: Rosie O'Donnell versus Donald Trump.
Oh God!
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
If they had the real Rosie against the real Donald, I'd have watched that.
You know, I feel bad because we haven't really mentioned any matches from the past 7 years since WWE went PG, but there have been a lot of good Raw matches. I mean, a lot of them involving The Shield. I remember The Shield and the Wyatt family having a rematch from Elimination Chamber.
You know, it's funny, before I came over here to watch Payback the other night, I watched the previous Payback, 2014. The Shield was so on a roll, and they had good matches on Raw, on SmackDown, on pay-per-view. It's a shame they had to break up, but they had to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say any Shield match from 2013 on Monday Night Raw you should watch, because almost all of them were really good.
Yep. It's because those 3 guys have a work ethic. Those 3 guys came up in the Indies. Those 3 guys are good.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention Randy Orton versus Evan Bourne. I think it was 2011. That match had the really cool RKO finish.
Oh, out of the that was
an
interesting,
amazing finish.
And
one of the best RKOs of all time.
Another match where you had a guy from the Indies who came from the Indies and made his name in the Indies for the most part against a homegrown third generation WWE superstar, but they both tore it up. A great execution, great storytelling for a one-off match. It was very well done.
Yeah. So I think that'll wrap it up for this video. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Let me know, let Jeff know what matches you think are must-see Raw matches you have to see before you die. And let us know what you thought about this video. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest in WWE, as well as TNA, and even some Lucha Underground and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And Global Force.
And Global Force Wrestling.
Don't forget that.
NoDQ.com, your source for all that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you next time.